Good evening, everybody. It's John here from Tutor to You, welcoming you along to one of our Revision Blast live streams for A-Level Economics. I'm joined tonight by Nikki. Good evening, Nikki. How are you?
Good evening. I'm absolutely fine. Looking forward to this.
So am I. I've heard a lot about these A-Level Economics students and how good they are in terms of their responses to questions that we've got for them. Listen, we've got a series of different live streams available for you over the next couple of weeks. And we're doing a couple this week, trying to support you with getting your head around some of these topics for the microeconomics paper one that's coming up very, very soon. So 30 minutes of fast-paced activities. If you've not done these before, we're looking forward to seeing your responses in the chat window. The PowerPoint that we're using tonight will be available for download as soon as we've finished. And of course, this whole thing's being recorded. In fact, if you're watching this recorded, welcome to you as well. You can take your time over some of the questions. I think we might be ready to get cracking though, Nikki. Shall we get going?
I think we should get going. We're going to start this evening with a series of multiple choice questions. So first up, manager of a chain of coffee shops, which is a public limited company, is meeting a 10 million profit target, which her shareholders have set for her. She is therefore able to pursue objectives other than profit maximization. Which of the following best describes the manager's behavior? So what I want is some answers. I've got the Riddler. How nice to see you, Toby. Great to see you. Lovely to see these names come up. Well done indeed. I think you're spot on. Look at that, a stream of D's. Profit satisficing. That strange economics word, but of course the manager is not the owner of that business, so all she will have to do is profit satisfice to appease her shareholders. Fabulous start. Well done. Super duper. Question number 2. The most likely reason a car manufacturer has closed 2 factories in the UK is to meet the objective of. So we got some nice, quick questions here. Very easy to answer, quick fire, get you in the mood. So let's have a look. Let's see what your answers are here. Kelsey's coming in with C, random stuff. The Riddler, lovely to see you. Marcus is in. Rosetta, fantastic. We're in with cost minimization is coming up as the most popular answer. And John, let's have the answer. Cost minimization is exactly right. It's closed 2 factories in the UK to meet that objective. We don't hear about cost minimization very often as an objective, but it's one to be thinking about, particularly at the moment with cost of living crisis and high costs. Well done, flying start, 2 out of 2. Right, now we get cracking. In the diagram below, a firm will be allocatively efficient at which output level? So remember, allocative efficiency, this is where what is equal to what. So let's have a look at your answers that are coming through. We've got more answers coming through for C. What's happening at output C? We've got marginal cost is equal to average revenue. Is that allocatively efficient? You're absolutely spot on. So the marginal cost, what it costs the producer to make the last unit, is exactly equal to what you, the customer, is prepared to pay for it, average revenue or price. So allocative efficiency, the answer to question 3 is C. What a fantastic flying start. Right, let's go. Question 4. A firm's total profit at different levels of output is illustrated in the diagram below. So at which level of output is marginal revenue equal to marginal cost? So lots of very quick answer questions here. Let's have a look and see. Kelsey's coming in with answer C. Who else is giving us some answers? Will Stubbs, iBoy, Aman, Abdul, coming in with some fantastic responses here. Again, we're having a run of C's as answers, aren't we? Matthew Johns is coming in. Social Strikes is coming in with C. You're right. Profit is maximized at output C. And of course, MR equals MC is profit maximization. Fabulous. Okay. On to our last quick fire question, multiple choice. The business represented in the diagram has an objective of maximizing output, but at a level which allows it to earn normal profit. At what level of output will the firm produce in order to meet this objective? So for question 5, Vivek is coming in with D, random stuff. The Riddler's back with D. iBoy, oh my word, look at all those. They've all flown in. Abdul's coming in, Nat's coming in with D. So remember, we've got to earn normal profit. Of course, at that point, average cost is equal to average revenue. You're right, it's output D. Be careful with this one because sometimes the question, or sometimes when you're revising, it comes up with sales revenue maximization. Of course, revenue maximization is a different output. So always refer to it as output maximization, then you won't get confused. Sorry, Ollie, he's far too busy recording your 1-minute videos. You've got us tonight. Handing over to John.
Thanks very much, Nikki. Here we go. Right, a quick 60-second challenge for you. I'm going to give you 5 key terms and I would like you to match them up with the definitions, which have all been mixed up. So here we go. You can see them up on screen. So you've got 5 key phrases there from our the micro side of things. 5 definitions, all mixed up. In the chat window, can you put a letter against the number? So if you thought number 1 was with A, give us A1. 60 seconds have started now. Excellent stuff. Well done, everybody. We've got so many answers coming into the chat window. It's hard to see them all flash past me. I've got something there from Nikita, from Rosetta, Chantal Carter. I've got something from Will Stubbs, Lance, Deborita. Loads and loads of different people answering. Let's have a look at the correct answers. There we go. Delayering and demergers. Delayering, not one of those phrases you see that often, so just check you've got that one absolutely correct. Demerging is one of those aspects of what's going on in business economics, which is becoming more and more important. This idea where firms start to hive off one or more of their elements of their business. Fraser Group, we know Fraser Group, for example, sold Dunlop in 2016. Travis Perkins, I think, relatively recently, sold off the Wix DIY chain as well. Okay. Then we've got vertical integration, acquiring a business in the same industry. Useful to have some examples of these, obviously, as you're doing them. We know, for example, that Amazon were allowed to have a part stake in Deliveroo. I think it's around about 16% of Deliveroo that are allowed to own. Then we've got our organic growth, internal growth without resorts to takeovers and mergers. A big example of that at the moment, I think, is Aldi, where we're seeing they're popping up all over the place now and just growing organically. And then that great phrase, creative destruction. I always love to see that phrase when I'm marking a student's piece of work. The dynamic effects of innovation in markets. Lovely to have some examples, of course, with these things as well. So when we talk about creative destruction, we can talk about how now smartwatches are overtaking wristwatches. We could discuss how streaming's taken over from DVDs in relatively recent times. And then, of course, there's the issue of AI, artificial intelligence, which may be taking over many aspects of people's work in the years to come. Brilliant stuff. Okay, let's try a couple of quick calculations relating to costs and elasticities. The first one, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds because it's relatively straightforward. Netoyant Limited has annual fixed costs of £12 million, annual output of 150,000 units with a variable cost of £150 per unit. What's their total annual costs of the business? Your 30 seconds have started. They have started. Well done. Lots and lots of really good answers coming in, although not all of them were perfect. So let's put the correct answer up on screen. Just have a look at that in case you didn't get it quite right. We've seen lots of students over the last few weeks at our revision workshops, and we concentrated a whole session on quantitative skills, remembering that the maths isn't usually that difficult. But accuracy is really important. Students make lots and lots of silly mistakes. So the first thing you needed to do here is work out your total variable costs. Take your 150,000 units, multiply it by £150 to get our total variable costs. Add that to the total fixed costs, and we get an overall total of 34.5 million. Okay, somebody mentioned that Jeff normally gives people a minute and a half to do these questions. I'm going to give you a minute for this one. I will give you a whole minute for this one. No, let's make it 60 seconds. That's Jeff Stoke as well, isn't it? Here we go. The managers of a large supermarket believe that price elasticity demand for beef is minus 2.1. If the price is set at £22 per kilo, sales will be 2,000 kilograms per week. If the price reduced to 19.8 per kilo, what is the new level of total revenue? Now, you've got quite a few little calculations to make here, haven't you? You've got to work out sort of change in quantity demanded so that you can work out the final total revenue. So get cracking with that. 60 seconds. That is your 60 seconds up. Well done again if you managed to get that, and well done if you did that in 60 seconds as well, because I think in exam you'd have to give yourself just a little bit longer working your way all the way through that. Again, some inaccuracies in places. Look at some of the answers. Don't forget your units, guys. That's a very easy but key mistake that lots of students make. Let's put the answer up there on screen for you. It relies upon you knowing the price elasticity of demand formula, doesn't it? Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Lots of people have different ways of remembering which one goes on the top of the formula, which goes on the bottom. We can then rearrange that formula to find our percentage change in price, and then again to find our, once we know our percentage change in price, we can find our percentage change in quantity demanded. That allows us to multiply that together in the end to find our total revenue, 47,916. Well done for those of you who had a go at that one. That one was a little bit more tricky. I'll hand back over to Nikki for some bubble quiz questions.
Right, here we go. I think there's so many of you on here tonight that we've seen before. We're going to jump straight in, assuming you know how to play bubble quiz. So remember that the number of answers can go from from 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, X inefficiency is a term used to describe. So let's have your answers come up on screen. Be careful with this, because sometimes and quite often I look at students' work and they're talking about X efficiency. Here, the question is about X inefficiency. So I'm getting C, 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 C all the way through. But is C the only answer? Remember, with a bubble quiz, there can be more than one right answer. So I'm getting a lot of C. I'm getting C's and D's from Lucky, from C, maybe D, saying lots of James Hasty, A, C, and D. Raymond 84 says A, C, and D. Let's go and have a look then, John. It is indeed A, C, and D. So a lack of technical efficiency, a situation where the firm suffers from internal slackness. Remember, X inefficiency is so called because we can't quite put our finger on it. We don't know what it is. Inefficiencies arising in natural monopolies as well. So answer was A, C, and D. Okay, let's crack on with number 2. Which of these types of efficiency would a public welfare seeking broadcaster achieve if successful? So of course we're thinking about the BBC, public welfare seeking broadcaster. If they were successful, which one, or maybe it's none of them, or maybe it's all of them. What do we think? So Ryan says B, Rosette says D, Riddler says D, Sutton says D, Debris, let's have a look. Oh, wow, they're all flying in now. So we're getting a lots of B's and D's. Let's have a look and see which one. It's just D. So remember, public welfare seeking broadcaster, what they're trying to do is please consumers, provide the amount that consumers want. They're not looking to seek to achieve any of the other efficiencies at all. So the answer was just D. Okay, let's have a look at number 3. Which of the following are required for a takeover to become effective? So I'll let you have a little look through those. Do they need formal approval by the acquiring company shareholders? Do they need to obtain at least 51% of the shares of the target company? So let's have a look at some of your answers. We've got B coming up quite a lot. Hafiz random stuff says, so Sean says A, C, and D. The Riddler says B. Lots and lots of answers coming in at C and B. Also, D is coming up quite a lot. So let's have a look and see. What have we got? We've got answer A, B, and D. So formal approval by the target company shareholders is needed as well. So what we haven't got there, C, is not correct, because in this country, of course, it's not the government that approves the takeover, it's the Competition and Markets Authority. So last week before in the news was, of course, Microsoft and Activision. And that was blocked. That takeover, that 55 billion takeover, was blocked by the Competition and Markets Authority. on behalf of the government, working on behalf of the government. Okay, well, Rosette, they work on behalf of the government, but they are a quango, so a quasi-autonomous organisation. So question 4, which of the following are potential benefits of successful takeovers? So what do we want out of a successful takeover? Higher market share, higher management costs, economies of scale, or revenue synergies? So I'm getting loads of A, C, and D. A, C, and D across the board. I think everybody is absolutely spot on with this. But let me point out to you, this is a potential takeover. Remember, takeovers don't always have to be at the same stage of production. If they were at different stage of production, then A wouldn't necessarily be true. So be careful when you're thinking about takeovers. Well done, fantastic. I'm handing back to John.
Thanks a lot, Nikki, and thank you again for so many really good responses to those questions coming through. Right, okay, we've got a connection spinner, and we're looking at trying to get some examples that we can use for application. Let's have a look at the different categories we've got available for us here. So I would like a real-world example, please, of whatever my spinner lands on. Now, this is completely random, so I don't know what it's going to be, so let's just wait. Let's let our little spinner go around. Let's have a look to see what we come up with here. Okay, can I have a real world example, please, of a market where asymmetric information could exist? Now then, let's see what responses we get to this one. Sean came in with utilities market, banking for Aman. Again, things passing along on the chat very, very quickly. We've got second-hand cars coming up a lot. Drugs, cars, banks, car markets, financial markets, smoking. Private healthcare came up there from Georgia. Wonderful answers here, some fantastic answers. Now, what would be interesting here, of course, is let's put our answers up, and I think there's a lot of correlation between what people have been putting in the chat window there. We've got health insurance as well, tenants and landlords. I'm not sure if I spotted that flashing past me. Yeah. Used vehicles, being very careful that we're discussing the right market. So where people were talking about cars, I assumed they might have been talking about used vehicles rather than brand new ones. Health insurance, what an examiner's looking for, of course, is your example, but being able to then apply that and show the examiner why that might be a case of asymmetric information. So if you're discussing, for example, health insurance, who is it who has the most amount of the information? Who is it who's more likely to have more information than the others? And possibly with health insurance, it's more likely to be the customer, whereas with used vehicles, it's more likely to be the business that's selling. Well done with that one. Let's try another one. Let's have another go. What have we got this time? Let's try another spin. Can you please give me a real world example of, what's this going to land on? Public bad. Now that's an interesting one, isn't it? A public bad. I always think that doesn't sound like a proper economic phrase, but it is, isn't it? A public bad. The opposite, of course, of a public good, if you like. So can we have some examples there? Smoking was the big one that regionally came in. Cigarettes, alcohol, exercise. Exercise as a public bad. That would be an interesting argument to make. Passive smoking, popular. Vaping, which of course is the modern thing to talk about with relations to what's going on in our atmosphere. Antisocial behaviour, that's an interesting one. Sugary goods. Being very careful to make sure that we give examples of public bads as opposed to just goods that are demerit goods. I think we need to be careful that we discuss that. We put our examples exactly right and be accurate with them there. Let's have a look, see what we've got. Thank you for your answers coming through there on the screen. Discrimination in the labour force. So we know that still takes place on a wide scale basis despite legislation to try and stop it happening. Web viruses. Who's behind these web viruses? Why are people putting these web viruses out there? They exist, obviously they exist, and we're constantly trying to stop them cropping up on our own internets or on our own devices. Disposal of waste, that's been the big one from the last 12 months in the UK, hasn't it? The disposal of sewage into rivers and the impact that's been having. Wonderful. Lots of people still coming in with with examples of such as diseases and so on. So good stuff. Right, let's try our next activity, Nikki.
Okay, so here we are with on balance. We want you to give us an advantage and a disadvantage of organic growth for a firm. So remember earlier this evening we talked about organic growth. So that's the sort of growth that just happens internally. This is where a firm uses its retained profits, plows it back in, invests, grows the market. From internally, this is not involving mergers or takeovers or any other business. So one advantage of growing organically, we have got Deburito say high risk. Okay, that's quite interesting. We often associate organic growth with lower risk because it's slower. It's using what the company is already good at. It's using its own knowledge, and it's growing at a pace that the market can cope with. So advantages of internal growth, it's really looking after itself. It's using um, its knowledge and its all its own advantages, if you like, what it knows already. Disadvantage of organic growth, of course, it can be quite slow, and a lot of you have said that to me, that they might miss out on market opportunities, they might get left behind their competitors. The amount of retained profit might actually limit growth, and they might miss out on many opportunities. So let's have a look at the answers, please, John. What we've suggested, it builds on a business strength. They can be financed through internal funds or retained profits as advantages. So, of course, you don't need to borrow, so you're not subject to interest repayments. However, some disadvantages, of course, coming through slow growth, as you say, shareholders may prefer more rapid growth, they may be more demanding, want a bit more profit, a bit more quickly. Hard to build extra market share if the business is already a leader in that market. Okay, so lots and lots of answers coming through. Fantastic, some good answers there. Lots of answers coming up about growth. Well done. Looks like you're all over that particular topic.
Wonderful stuff. So, as you just said there, Nikki, some good responses with lots of people showing that they are very good at some microeconomics. But not all of the answers were absolutely perfect. So, let's keep going with our revision. Of course, let's keep going with making sure that we test ourselves as well. So, we've got another micro-based revision blast coming along on Wednesday evening as well. It'd be lovely to see a lot of you there as well. We've had so many people, I didn't have time to write down any names because they were flashing past on my screen so quickly. But thank you for that. Do give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed tonight or found it useful. Don't forget, of course, the presentation is available for you if you wanted to download that and have a look through some of these questions at your leisure, as is the video recording of this very same session. Brilliant stuff. Thank you to Nikki for being with me tonight. And we'll see you all again on Wednesday. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.